Episode 15. Sizing Him Up. Lightly floating fairy, late page. Only with the parallel lace breathing technique can one wield it to its fullest potential. It will be unsurpassed by anyone under the 7th rank, and is a peak speed skill for all those under the 9th rank. Below are the contents for the parallel ace breathing technique. The minimum requirements are being at the peak of the 3rd rank of the martial path, as well as possessing inner strength. As the last 10th of the skill was deciphered, Bobby released his excitement. He never thought that such a skill as lightly floating fairy would have a complementary skill. This was technically buffing its power level to an ever higher level. Bobby could now confirm that lightly floating fairy was at least a peak rank martial arts skill. Most people knew that martial arts were split into core, low, middle, high, and peak. However, this did not mean that peak rank martial arts skills were at the top. There were rumors of holy martial skills, skills that surpassed peak rank martial arts skills. Likewise, there were holy martial arts, above the 9 ranks of normal martial arts techniques. Bobby had heard that to enter the holy martial artist category, one needed to learn a holy martial skill. Obviously, with Bobby's status, he could not even think about holy skills. Even the true martial artist of San Francisco could not touch the level of holy martial artist. Later that night, Bobby had finally deciphered its contents, and the entire lightly floating fairy was displayed. If I can gain an understanding of chi right now, any opponents under the 4th rank will not be a match for me. Bobby immediately started to learn the contents of lightly floating fairy. Once lightly floating fairy entered the beginning stages, he could immediately start using chi. Half an hour later, Bobby had only just understood some parts of the technique. However, to try and understand chi through lightly floating fairy alone was still a bit difficult. San Francisco had thousands of martial artists who would reach the peak of the 3rd rank, but many of them would never understand the concept of inner strength or reach the 4th rank. Even some of the facility's talented students, such as Peter and Sarah, had been stuck for a while and had yet to succeed. Bobby ended that night with failure. The second day, Bobby once again started to train in the air-pushing breathing technique, as well as Angry Dragon Fist. On the 3rd day, the air-pushing breathing technique was slowly moving towards the peak of the 3rd level. Bobby felt that his body's strength had reached a limit now. Every time he repeated the technique, it felt as if he had reached his peak. He once again tried to condense chi, but again resulted in failure. Every time he failed, his strength would fall in exhaustion. Although Bobby understood the parallel ace breathing technique, to actually successfully form chi was an entirely different manner. However, he did not give up, and every time he tried, there would be subtle improvements. On the same day, Bobby received a written notice. Tomorrow, noon, there will be a powerful martial artist giving a lecture on the martial arts field. Attendance is mandatory. Every town recruit received this news. Bobby was very anticipatory of this lecture. He had only been at the training facility for a year, and this was the first time he had this kind of chance. Morning, the next day. Although it wasn't noon yet, there were already a lot of students gathered there. Bobby even saw many stronger higher-ranked students there that weren't usually seen. The main focus of these people were those at the peak amongst the town recruits. On the field, those that had held the most attention were those that ranked in the top 10. The most focused person was Sarah, who was 15 years of age. Her beauty stood out amongst the crowd. She wasn't just pretty, she also had great talent, and was ranked 3rd, tied with Peter Chu. There was a buzz as Calvin Kramer, the highest-ranked student of the facility, appeared. Bobby did not even need to find him, as the crowd split apart by itself. Through the pathway came a youth, 16 or 17 years of age. He wore azure-colored clothes and had a simplistic face. This is him? It was Bobby's first time seeing Calvin. He had only heard rumors about him before. Calvin was older than most students on his level, being 17 years old. This was because once someone became 18 years old, they were considered adults and could no longer be counted among the younger generation. Calvin often trained endlessly inside his own room, so it wasn't common for him to be seen by others. At this moment, Bobby's eyes locked onto Calvin, and he felt the tremendous pressure coming from him. Although their ranks were the same, Bobby could feel the pressure that was being emitted by him. Bobby also perceived the immense strength hiding in Calvin's muscles. Because Calvin was older, that meant that he had trained for longer and had the best foundation. In terms of strength, he was definitely ranked first. No wonder he was worthy of the title of being the strongest town recruit. Bobby couldn't find any flaws on him. As Calvin appeared, Peter Chu, who was ranked third, and Andy, the Dragon Eye, who was ranked fifth, showed their fighting intent. There wasn't much difference in strength between the top 5 average disciples. There was still a bit of time before the lecture started. Soon, there was another shout. Jacob? The person ranked second among the top 5. The gazes of many students turned towards a certain direction. The person arriving was a short-haired youth whose body was as slim as a leopard. Bobby felt that the name was familiar. Soon, he remembered that this person was Tom's brother. And sure enough, behind Jacob came a familiar figure, Tom. Jacob had also spotted Bobby, who saw him walk to his brother and say something. Jacob spun around, and his cold eyes locked onto Bobby. "You're Bobby?" Jacob said expressionlessly as he walked over. There was a shock that went through the crowd. What is going on? Why would Jacob trouble someone who is so unknown? Unknown? Someone shook his head and mocked. Bobby is not some unknown brat. A few days ago, he killed a golden-headed tiger by accident. Oh, it's him. I heard that he beat up Jacob's little brother. I bet you he is coming for revenge. After a short discussion, the crowd soon calmed down. Most of the students had playful looks on their faces, as Jacob was tied for second among the town recruits. Even Calvin, who was ranked first, Peter, and Sarah, who were equally ranked third, looked over. Peter had a gloating expression on his face. He knew Jacob's strength quite well. Jessica, who was next to Peter, sighed, but after remembering how Bobby had acted in the medicine pavilion, her soft expression was replaced by coldness. On the other hand, Sarah had an interested face. Bobby's performance at the archery field had shocked her. As a result, Bobby was now one of the main focuses on the field. Kid, today you are going to get humiliated in front of the crowd. Tom's lips curled into a smile. Jacob walked, step by step, and every step he took caused the atmosphere to tense up. Yes, I'm Bobby, Bobby said, as he showed a faint smile when he sized him up.